The Civil War was a battle of rights of states and individuals, but it was also a bloody war of brother against brother, friend against friend. But those personal feelings had to be set aside in order to end the suffering of many.
The North won the Civil War because General Ulysses S. Grant and William T. Sherman were willing to accept staggering losses of men.
Hiram Ulysses Grant was born in Point Pleasant, Ohio, April 27, 1822. Named 6 months after his birth, he had his name drawn from a hat with several name ideas from family members, and through assumptions of officials, he officially became known as U.S. Grant. Grant was a small, quiet boy, much like his quiet, emotionless mother, and very much unlike his rather rude and obnoxious father. He grew up in Georgetown, Ohio, where his father owned a tannery. He always hated the smell of the slaughtered animals and the chemicals used in the tannery. The thought of death was horrific, even if just from hunting. Grant had the reputation of being a rather dull person, was spectacular at only 2 things: horseback riding and math. His father sent in an application for West Point to Congressman Hamer. Remaining in character, Grant was average or below at West Point. He had no desire to be there. He wanted to become a math teacher. When graduating from West Point, he was assigned to the 4th Infantry, and the war with Mexico was on the brink of starting. Grant saw the war as unholy, due to the unfair antagonization of the U.S. Army, but he went to Louisiana where observation was set up to watch the Mexican border. After 6 months, he was sent to various cities in Mexico along with other soldiers, where battles were fought with Mexico. Grant didn't directly fight in all the battles. He was assigned to watch the mules and wagons behind the front lines, but his experience in battles wouldn't be over because the Civil War was coming. He's the quietest little fellow you ever saw. He makes the least fuss of any man you ever knew. I believe he had been in this room a minute or so before I knew he was here. Grant is the first general I have had. You know how it's been with all the rest. As soon as I put a man in command of the army, they all wanted me to be the general. Now it isn't so with Grant. He hasn't told me what his plans are. I don't know, and I don't want to know. I am glad to find a man who can go ahead without me. He doesn't ask impossibilities of me, and he's the first general I've had that didn't. Abraham Lincoln, 1864.
William Tecumseh Sherman was born February 8, 1820 in Lancaster, Ohio. He was a quiet but hard man. When he joined the military, he did not desire to be a high-ranking official. When he was thrown under the command of Ulysses S. Grant, however, he was given the title of Major General, and over time he became accustomed to the job and its duties. While in the field on the Western Front, William's son Willie died of typhoid fever. Sherman used the memory of his young son as a cure for the defects in his character. Reorganization of the Federal High Command brought Sherman into a situation he dreaded. Grant was transferred to Virginia, leaving Sherman in command in the West. His theory on war was to make war so terrible that the rebels would never again take up arms. He also said, in reference to the Southern people, "Though they cannot be made to love us, they can be made to fear us." This mindset is what gave Sherman the necessary force to win battles.
Grant stood by me when I was crazy, and I stood by him when he was drunk, and now we stand by each other. William T. Sherman.
Sherman was straightforward, simple, kind-hearted, nay, warm-hearted, scrupulously just and careful in the right of others. Henry Hitchcock, 1864.
The North had many advantages over the South during the Civil War. These advantages are such as being economically sound enough to produce plenty of clothing for the men, weapons to fight with, and men to spare. Using these advantages, the North was able to overpower the South, even though some say their military tactics lacked. After many embarrassing defeats, Lincoln was forced to release General McClellan of his duties as general since he wasn't willing to risk large amounts of casualties to win the war. Lincoln then brought in 2 generals willing to throw their men into the meat grinder of the war. The men he chose were Ulysses S. Grant and William T. Sherman.
Because 3 great men, William T. Sherman, Ulysses S. Grant, and Abraham Lincoln, were willing to accept horrific, staggering losses, the North was able to win the Civil War.